Hi, thanks for coming to check out my video today. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Burnley game. If you like, please like and share. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Let's get into it. So the lineup came out and it was a little bit of a surprise in terms of the personnel, but then mainly the way the personnel fit together. So the kind of system that was being employed today. I'm going to do a bigger analysis of this, so keep an eye out for that. But the idea for today wasn't so much to play with width, and so the 4-2-3-1 with the wide players kind of looking to put crosses into the box wouldn't have worked as well. At least that's the thinking behind it. The 4-3-3, we're looking to get more players into the half spaces to see if we can, cause some problems that way. Because putting crosses into the box, we're not going to win many of those headers. What I'm liking at the moment is that the back four is set. We know pretty much who is going to be playing. If you include Ramsdale, because I think it's quite clear he's now the number one. A back five is set. I think you can set Partey in there, and it seems like Odegaard and Aubameyang are also set. So you're looking at that being 8 out of 11 players that are almost guaranteed a place, which is great to see. We've had a lot of chopping and changing to try to find some consistency. And it didn't really seem to work, but it seems now he's kind of settled on an 8 players at least. And, hopefully that improves cohesion and performance moving forward. I have to say, when I saw that it was a 4-3-3, I was a little bit nervous in that Partey being a single pivot player with ESR and Odegaard playing as the other two central midfielders, thought it might leave us a little bit too open. But at the same time, I can understand the offensive principle behind it, looking to get players in those half spaces, which was important for the way Arteta wanted to approach the game. As the game started, Burnley had some early success in kind of making things difficult. They didn't really engage in a very high press. They kind of went halfway, which gave us a little bit more time at the back. But because they wouldn't fully commit to the press, it made it harder to play through. And what they did is retreat really quickly into their 2 lines, which were very compact. They knew anything that was going to be put into the air, they were going to win. And so it kind of forced us to try to play through. But then they did a really good job of packing the middle, with those 2 lines, very compact. So that gave them some success early. I would like to have seen Arsenal try and go a little bit longer, a little bit earlier, and see if we could get Aubameyang in behind. I understand the hesitancy in that, they're more likely to win most of the balls in the air. But I think there were definitely some opportunities where Aubameyang kind of spun and we could have, dropped him in behind. I'd like to see a little bit more of that moving forward. But the game kind of just ebbed and flowed. Not really much by way of excitement. Arsenal grew into it, started to control the game in terms of the possession of the ball. Didn't really create much. And again, I think that's because there was great difficulty in getting into those half spaces and getting the players that we want in those half spaces on the ball. Saka was very difficult to get Saka into the half space. Same with Smith Rowe on the other side. There wasn't really much they could do to get the ball and progress it. It was a frustrating watch. As Saka started to get on the ball a little bit more, you could see things are starting to happen a little bit more. And then, of course, Saka picks up the ball and is brought down for the free kick. 30 minutes in, Odegaard lining up to take the free kick. What what a strike. Absolutely beautiful stroke of the ball. The ball movement started outside, you know, pretty much round the keeper. Keeper was never going to get there. It's an excellent free kick. I'm glad to see Odegaard scored because, you know, he's been influential in a number of his competitive games he's played recently for Norway, for Arsenal. But people always look at key passes, people always look at assists, and people always look at goals scored. None of the tempo control, none of the movements and occupying of spaces that frees other people, none of the rotation, none of the movement, even the high energy, the high press, you know, all of these things that Odegaard is so essential to, nobody looks at. So it's good to see that he got a goal today, and that, you know, people can't discredit his impact because he actually is on the stat sheet for the game. I think one of the big problems into the second half, because Burnley started strong again in the second half, was that in that 4-3-3, you kind of have Odegaard playing in the same vertical zone as Saka. And so there isn't really the angle to play the ball into him, especially because Burnley kept it compact and looked to screen passes into those areas, you know, those half spaces on the field. The same was happening on the other side of the field between, you know, other players and Smith Rowe, who tried to occupy that half zone a little bit more because Pepe was wide. And because there wasn't the width in terms of crossing, you know, Tierney very rarely got down the outside to try to put a cross in. Tomiyasu, I don't even think overlapped it at all in the game to put a cross in. It allowed Burnley to keep it compact and keep it tight through the middle. But once we changed to that 4-2-3-1, you could see that we started to break a little bit quicker on them and get the ball into you know, key areas. The final pass today was not good enough. There were a couple. One I can really remember was Aubameyang. Pepe should just be putting that in front of his path, and he could go on to have his attempt on goal. But, you know, the ball was either too soft, it was slightly behind. It was disappointing, to say the least. You know, I do believe there are players on the field who, you know, have barely played 180 minutes with each other. And so, you know, the cohesion through the group will improve as players are able to develop relationships on the field. And part of having that core of 8 players, 9 players is going to help with that cohesion. So I'm very positive in that things will get better moving forward, especially as the positional play routes take place and get deeper within the team. Later in the game, Burnley got a penalty. Again, I believe Ben White's come out and said that the ball didn't really move very well. They didn't really water the pitch. You'd expect it, you know. And you know, Burnley have got to do what's good for them. He'd been playing for a long time at that point, so White should have known better and should have played the pass heavier. But, you know, outstanding from Ramsdale to be on it as quickly as he was, to make sure he got the touch on the ball, but then also try to pull out after the touch on the ball was great. I'm not quite sure why it had to go to VAR for the ref to then go over to a screen and watch it. It was quite cleanly obvious it was no penalty. And a good decision for once. Usually these things go against us. So it was good to see that it went for us in this case. Overall, Arsenal are looking much more solid. The back 4, back 5 being in place and being first choice now is definitely helping with our solidity and giving us a good foundation to build from. The forwards need to be a little bit more creative, need to play a little bit quicker, need to be a bit more incisive. And I think as that starts to trend forwards, as that starts to become the norm, and those relationships on the field are forming and developing, I think we'll see a much more free-flowing team. I also think the position play, the FDP side of things, will take deeper root, which will give us the structure we need, where we can then play with freedom and creativity, but then have that defensive structure to stop us from being dominated or counterattacked on, is also definitely going to help us improve our performance moving forward. Thanks for listening to my game review. If you enjoyed this, please like, please share, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And as always, come on, you Gunners.